Hi and welcome to the lesson about triggers that are very important from the data emission standpoint. So you're accumulating your state, but in some cases you may want to emit partial state to your customers so they can, for example, update some alerting systems or anything like that. And without the flexible triggering mechanism, you will not be able to do that. And so when you think about triggers, you might be thinking like I do about cron expressions that you use to start batch jobs. So in the batch jobs, you say, okay, I want this job to start every 30 minutes. I want this job to start every day. And that way you say somehow that the scope of data you are interested in. By 30 minutes, you say, okay, I will probably take only the last 30 minutes of data, unless you are doing some sliding operation, of course, but anyway, just keep it simple. If you are doing daily processing, well, I take only the yesterday data, so far and so on. In stateful processing is similar. You define when you want to start processing something, except that this start processing something is not the real data processing, is much more the data emission results. So in batch, you would say that the cron is more cron expression plus batch execution time, because yes, it's you emit the results when the batch finishes. And how to do that? So, and I think that we will better understand it in this example. So we have our user navigation, remember, and the key point is to answer this question: when we will emit the user navigation results, and to generally comply to the semantic we guaranteed to our downstream customers. If we guarantee to the customers that we will emit only the final data, and this final data will be fully ordered because there is no way to integrate late data to it, that's fine, we can emit data in the end. But we can also say, as I mentioned previously, hey, I will emit you some partial results that may be wrong, may be fine, every 30 minutes, every 30 seconds. And yeah, you can consider it as a best effort or as an approximate information. And among available triggers you will find in data processing world, there are maybe three main categories you will find very often. So regular, complete, and regular with rules. So regular, it's like whenever I get some data, I emit my partial results, whatever happens, without any logic. It's continuous. The second family is about the complete. So I generate the results to my customers only once I'm sure I will not have any more data for this use case. So for example, I will talk about watermarks later, but when your internal clock indicates that I have my most recent data at this time, and automatically I will ignore everything coming from the past, and at that time, if you have some processing defined in this past time, you can say, okay, I will emit these results, and because I will not get any more data for that anyway. So that's the second case. And the third one is about regular with rules. So you can say that I will emit partial results, but not every time. I will maybe configure it to say I will emit partial results on 10 new items integrated in my state store. So for example, if we have our user visits, it means that we will emit an incremental state of 10 visited pages every time. So yeah, that's kind of summary I just introduced you before. So the first one is an incremental view, the emission is continuous. The second one is conditioned by some time-based requirement like watermark, and that's, by the way, the watermark in this scenario is one of the use cases of is one of the implementation of state expiration on top of state store, if you remember the previous lesson. And the third one is like, yes, every 10 minutes, every 10 updates, every 10 elements processed. But there is a quite glitch. So complete says that we will emit the results because we will, due to the watermark, we are sure that we will not get any more late data. Well, it's only partially true because it's true at the given moment. If at 10 o'clock you see that all your new data is for 10:20, it doesn't guarantee, there is no such guarantee that there is no one very late user that is producing and buffering due to some network issues data for 9 o'clock, for example. And once this network connection recovered for this user, he or she can send all this data to you. And since you already closed the state for him, for her, well, you will not be able to integrate it anyway. Hopefully you can, so that's why there is kind of, I would say, highlighted point, the point to keep in mind why you consider complete results emission. And it's very important to highlight in the communication with your consumers that there is still risk of having this late data. Unless you can guarantee that your consumers are always on time, they're continuously providing you the records without any buffering. But from my experience, it was never the case. So there has always been either disconnected users or users with working network but having some issues to send the data to the system. Because remember, not only the customer the producer can have some problems to deliver data, but also you, while ingesting this data, you can have some, for example, kind of back pressure mechanism where you will, for example, say I will accept only 1,000 records per second. So whenever you have a huge spike of activity, you will of course buffer this and maybe miss some of them in this complete state result. Okay, so it's simple, but just to remember this special use case and the special mention for the complete emission condition. And thanks for watching, and see you in the next lesson.